What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? On today's episode of It Might Be a Think Piece and Conversation. Yes, this is going to be a think piece and conversation. This is going to be a very extensive video. This video in particular, okay? This video in particular, we're going to talk about the extensive agenda and mandate coming from Donald Trump's camp and the mind of Donald Trump, okay? There is some extremely aggressive and much needed day one mandates, policies that will be implemented, okay? The deep state gets targeted. The bureaucrats, the unelected bureaucrats, they get targeted. Drug dealers get targeted. Cartel gets targeted. Gang members get targeted, foreign and domestic. This mandate, this gigantic mandate that is going to be implemented on day one is going to be for the lifeblood of America. It's for America to finally be healthy, great, and greater than it's ever been before. That requires an extremely aggressive plan, okay? We have been going off the deep end, heading towards an iceberg, because we are now in uncharted waters that this man has to clean up. So first, I'm going to start with the what he says about cartels, okay? And I'm going to comment on every single mandate he speaks on. I'm going to comment on. I'm going to give my opinion on them. Okay? This, for all those who do not know what's going to happen on day one and throughout Trump's 4 years in office, this that's going to happen is going to change America for the better. Okay? Let's start with the first video.
From within by the drugs and by all of the other crime that's taking place. Our country is being poisoned from within by the drugs and by all of the other crime that's taking place. The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's now time for America to wage war on the cartels. In this war, Joe Biden has sided against the United States and with the cartels. They are making more money than they've ever made before, times 10.
What I need y'all to understand about the cartels, if you don't know about the cartels, which if you're at a certain age and you don't know, if you haven't watched Narcos, if you've been just under a rock, the cartels are responsible for a selection of things, a few things, and all these things. Human trafficking, drugs coming into the states of all kinds, fentanyl, cocaine, you name it, okay? Even guns. The cartel is technically a terrorist organization. Fentanyl has killed hundreds of thousands of people. Kids, some of your favorite rappers have died off of fentanyl. He wants to wage war on the cartel. Okay? This is like when he went against ISIS. He cleaned ISIS out. In 2-3 weeks, he cleaned them out. This mandate is aggressive. This is a showing of power that the United States should have been on since its birth. You kill our people with drugs, you human traffic, you have to go.
There's never been anything like it. They're major companies. They're bigger than even some of our biggest companies. Biden's open border policies are a deadly betrayal of our nation. When I am president, it will be the policy of the United States to take down the cartels, just as we took down ISIS and the ISIS Caliphate, and just as, unlike the situation we're in today, we had a very, very strong border, the strongest border, in fact, in the history of our country, and drugs were at a low of 45 years. There's been nothing like what we did just 2 years ago. We will show no mercy on the cartels. Every day, drug traffickers are using the waters of our region to ship their lethal poisons to America, killing so many of our people and ruining families. In addition to restoring strong border security, I will deploy all necessary military assets, including the U.S. Navy, to impose the full naval embargo on the cartels. I did that before, and it worked.
This is we're coming for you. That's what this is. This is, we're not playing. We're coming for you. See, I don't know if you guys are on X. You guys should download X. Every single country that we have had issues with are folding. They are all folding. Yo, Trump, let's talk. Yo, Trump, give me a call. Let's talk about bettering our relations with the U.S. Yo, Trump, let's talk. Vladimir Putin, yo, let's settle this. Let's sit down and talk. When you have a strong leader, right? This might sound sexist, right? But every country that has a male leader in charge, if they are not strong, they won't be respected. The expectation of a leader that's a woman, especially in these other countries that are male dominated when it comes to power structure, they automatically see a woman as emotional and not able to make the right decisions, the objective decisions, the tough decisions. Ladies, this ain't about, yo, we don't want Kamala as a woman as president. Kamala ain't strong. Kamala ain't smart. Kamala is not aggressive enough. This is aggression. Yo, cartels, we are coming. We're bringing the Navy, everybody to clean you guys out. We're sealing the borders. This is not, listen, we're not playing. It's over. It's time. All right, it's time. Now, for the people that don't agree with what's going to happen, by God's will, you need to really reevaluate your priorities and just how you think of life in America. Okay? The cartels, I know they got some dope movies about them. I know they got Narcos. I know Narcos is probably one of your favorite shows on Netflix, okay? You see these guys, it's glamorized, it's glorified, and what they do, how many people they kill, and this is real life. This country has to get cleaned out. We have to apply a laxative inside Mother America, and it has to shit out all the bad. It has to get rid of it, okay? These people are coming from a foreign nation, poisoning us, killing us. That is technically a terrorist act. Now you will be treated as terrorists. Do you agree with that? You should. They gotta go. Sorry.
What we did was incredible. We will guarantee that the waters of the Western Hemisphere are not used to traffic illicit drugs to our country. Furthermore, I will order the Department of Defense to make appropriate use of special forces, cyber warfare, and other maximum damage on cartel leadership, infrastructure, and operations. I will designate the major cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. We will sever their access to global financial systems. I will also work to forge an unprecedented partnership with neighboring governments in our region, just like I did in Mexico. And remember, in Mexico alone,
we're gonna make sure you're broke. We're gonna make sure you don't have no money to spend on resources. Just like how he did Iran. Iran, before he left office, Iran wasn't able to sell none of its oil to anybody. If they sold their oil, they would impede on the relationship with the United States. These countries aren't as powerful as us. They don't want to mess that relationship up. I understand that we're in $37 trillion of debt. Okay? That has affected our livelihood and our inflation and all that. But please do not mistake countries that, if you're listening to this, right? Do not mistake the power of this country. We have came from a lot. We've gone through a lot, and it's time for us to retake our rightful spot as the greatest superpower this earth has ever known. You understand? And if we aren't the greatest superpower this earth has ever known, right now in this current time, we're going for that. That's our rightful spot. This country right here is the promised land. This is the promised land. There's a reason why God wants to give us grace and give us another shot. There's a reason why God kept this man alive. There's a reason why he knows he has to make the right decisions and the tough decisions. You guys have to get squeezed out from the bottom till you beg us for mercy. Okay? This is not a game. And you're talking to somebody. Listen, I want y'all to understand. You are talking to somebody that has never voted for Trump until this election. Because I was brainwashed by the media. Okay? Then I finally woke up and I understand what's going on. I'm kind of glad Trump ain't win the last election because we wouldn't be woken up to what's going on right now. This agenda that's happening, Agenda 47, the Trump mandate, the mandate that is probably gonna get Trump a spot in Mount Rushmore, a spot that has always been for fathers that we had. It's always been four people that was long ago presidents or long ago great contributors to the country. This is going to add them in. Tough decisions got to be made. We have to make this country greater than it's ever been. It's not about making America great again. It's about making America greater than it's ever been before. You understand?
an estimated 100,000 civilians have been tragically murdered or gone missing at the hands of these cartels. The Mexican government, run by a very fine man, the president, is really working hard, but it's not working out. These cartels are vicious and they're violent, and they have Mexico for now stymied. Well, we have to help Mexico, and we have to stymie the cartels. Either we will get the full cooperation of other governments to stop this menace, or we will expose every bribe, every kickback, every payoff, and every bit of corruption that is allowing the cartels to preserve their brutal reign. And it is indeed brutal.
That is a warning. That is a warning. I need y'all to look at context clues and subtleties in speech. Governments out there, we're going to ask for your help to get rid of these cartels. We're going to get rid of them. We're going to clean them, wipe them off the face of the earth. We know what's going on in the back doors, and this is your second chance. This is your shot to help us out. If you don't help us out, there will be severe consequences because we know what's going on in the back doors. We know what's going on. We're going to reveal the truth. This is the age of truth. Okay? And through truth, especially in the times that we're living in right now, will birth the golden age of society where there's barely any crime. Everybody's making money. Everybody's happy. The racial divide is much less pronounced. This has to happen. It's gotta happen. Okay? So please, day one, when he installs these mandates and policies and he unleashes the full power of the military on these people that have been terrorizing our country subtly through drugs, through human trafficking, things that don't get pronounced as much as they should. You guys got to help us out. You want to have good relations with the United States. You want to. So, I completely agree with this mandate. I completely agree with this a course of action. And you should too. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. Okay? I came straight from the gym, ate some food, smoked a cigar, and I was like, all I've been thinking about was making this video. This is going to be a pretty long video. It's going to be a pretty long audio. And as I go through these mandates, as I go through these policies that he's going to put into power, I want you to think, is this necessary? Absolutely necessary? Or you don't agree with it? And if you don't agree with it, that's fine. But your reasons why, especially in the state that America is in right now, in the state that our neighborhoods, especially black people, our neighborhoods are getting destroyed by drugs of all kinds. Okay? They have to go. They have to go.
Finally, as I have said before, I will ask Congress to pass legislation ensuring that drug smugglers and human traffickers receive the death penalty. The drug cartels and their allies in the Biden administration have the blood of countless millions on the the drug traffickers, ensuring that drug smugglers and human traffickers receive the death penalty. The drug cartels and their allies in the Biden administration have the blood of countless millions on their hands. Millions and millions of families and people are being destroyed. When I'm back in the White House, the drug kingpins and vicious traffickers will never sleep soundly again. We did it once, and we did it better than anybody else. There's never been a better border than we had just 2 years ago. It was strong, it was powerful, and it was respected all over the world. And now we're laughed at all over the world. And we're not going to let that happen much longer. We have to take over. We have to be tough. We have to be smart. We have to be fair. But if we don't do something immediately, our country is gone.
Okay, that was the first video. Okay. Now, this next one, this next one is going to be about censorship. Okay, I know y'all was around in the times when we had COVID, we had the pandemic or the plandemic, however which way you call it. There was unprecedented censorship happening through those times. That was a sneak preview of communism, totalitarianism. That was a sneak preview of that. If you say this on your platform, we're gonna get rid of you. We're gonna exile you. You ain't gonna be able to make money, monetize. Okay? We got to get aggressive. The Titanic is heading for an iceberg. And this man has to steer off course aggressively to the left, to the right. To the right. He has to go aggressively to the right. And I didn't say to the left because I want to make it, a distinction between left, right, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. We have to steer this thing hard to the right. Hard right.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens.
Without the Second Amendment, no, not the Second Amendment, without the First Amendment, without the right to free speech, there is no America. America was built off of its freedoms. This is what makes this country the promised land. There are people that have ran from China, that have ran from other communist countries to come here and find a better life. But you know who takes this place for granted the most? The people that have been born here that don't really understand what type of privileges we have under this Constitution. Our Constitution have been put in great peril because of very powerful corporations such as Facebook, Instagram, the old Twitter. Companies that if you said something on your platform about the jab that we did not like, that goes against our agenda, you're going to be removed. You're going to be demonetized. We're going to stop your message from being sent all over the place. That what was going on. Okay, I understand there are some things that you don't like that people say on the internet, right? That's why you're giving the power to mute them, block them, disagree with them, move on. Once you stop people from talking and giving their rightful opinions to talk, whether you like it or not, you are degrading the First Amendment. You are degrading the right to free speech. The reason why these companies did not want us to talk how we was talking because we was telling the truth. When you tell the truth to a bunch of zealots, bureaucrats that want to control you and stop you from talking, stop you from giving the truth, stop you from raising the stock price of Moderna, Pfizer, things like that, you're in the way. Under the Constitution, when a government becomes too tyrannical, we have the right to overthrow them. You understand? So before it gets to that extreme, we have a voting process, an election to elect people that have our best interests at heart. These mandates are for all American people that pay taxes, go to work. They want to build platforms talking about whatever they want to talk about. These avenues to create maybe just another way to get money, another what's the word, man? Another income, excess income. All right, let me do this so I could get some income. Let me do this so I could find some like-minded individuals that are like me, and we could build a community and talk about this thing and get our needs met. Without free speech, you don't have that. Without your voice, you don't have that. All you are is a zombie just working, going home. That's it. Okay? You can't say certain things. You can't live your life. You can't disagree with things. Life is about debate, agreeing, disagreeing. I don't like what you said. You don't like what I said. Let's agree to disagree. Okay? That's a beautiful thing that you should never take for granted. And a lot of people have been taking it for granted, but now we have awoken up to the bullshit.
I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified. These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law, and antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses. To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans to immediately send preservation letters, and we have to do this right now, to the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship. Third, upon my inauguration as president, I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk revising Section 230 to get big online platforms out of censorship business. From now on, digital platforms should only qualify for immunity protection under Section 230.
I want to shout out to all the so-called right-wingers, which are really truth tellers. I want to shout out to Hassan Campbell. His platform has been severely put under censorship, have been massively, the spread of his message have been massively strained due to the censorship of these corporations, right? So to all those that are speaking the truth on your platforms, the Candace Owens, the Hassan Campbells, the Charlie Kirks, the Joe Rogans, everybody, man, the PBDs, the everybody who fought long and hard for this thing to happen, for this mandate to finally come into fruition. Everybody's about to get blessed with immunity to talk how they want to talk. If there is an issue, you can just mute them, unsubscribe, block them, report them through your channels of reporting on YouTube, okay? This is one of the most important mandates that's going to be put into place from now and generations to come. This needs to be a constitutional amendment. I don't know if he's going to make it into something that powerful, but we're going to see. Okay, that's going to be with the help of Supreme Court justices. That's going to be with the help of the House of Representatives, the Senate. We're going to all need your help. Okay? This has to get passed. It must get passed. YouTube, Google, these left-wing platforms that are the architects and the enforcers of the the censorship of free speech. Even if they was egged on by the Biden administration, it's over now. Them times is done. The game is done. Okay? Now, he also said, please do not remove evidence of censorship. The reason why he doesn't want you to remove the evidence because the rightful parties must be prosecuted. They must be prosecuted. They can't go into hiding. It's over. Okay? Just whatever you did, just take your beating, bro. It's over. We're coming for you. It's done. What you was doing was completely against the Constitution, and it must be prosecuted. I understand that the media says, yo, he's gonna be going after his political enemies. But they're not gonna tell you is that the people that are his so-called political enemies were the ones censoring you from talking. They were all censoring you from saying things that was going against their agenda. The doomsday clock for totalitarianism and communism in the United States has begun.
If they meet high standards of neutrality, transparency, fairness, and non-discrimination, we should require these platforms to increase their efforts to take down unlawful content such as child exploitation and promoting terrorism while dramatically curtailing their power to arbitrarily restrict lawful speech. Fourth, we need to break up the entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the false guise of tackling so-called mis- and disinformation. The federal government should immediately stop funding all nonprofits and academic programs that support this authoritarian project. If any U.S. university is discovered to have engaged in censorship activities or election interferences in the past, such as flagging social media content for removal of blacklisting, those universities should lose federal research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more.
In order to enforce a mandate, which I understand with Trump, you have to enforce your policies and your mandates with, you got to attack their pockets. You got to attack their money. You got to attack their resources. You got to attack their opportunities. So if they ever try to find a loophole or try to do something that goes against this mandate, there is severe consequences. And when there's severe consequences, that brings less of a possibility for these companies, for these schools to go ahead and start the authoritarianism. I can't even say that word properly. That has to stop. It's got to go. So no more federal loans. People ain't going to come to your school. A lot of people got to use federal loans to come to your schools, okay? They want to come to your school. A lot of them ain't going to have $44,000 a year or $10,000, $20,000 a year to go to your school without federal loans. Guess what? If your school partakes in this type of activities, and no more federal loans for 5 or more years, minimum. Oh, you don't like it? Guess what? This is the executive branch. This is the president of the United States. You gotta fall in line. Don't worry, it's for the betterment of the country. So I understand a lot of people are sensitive about what's going on. He still says that there is lawful speech that will always be passed through. If you talking about terrorism and trying to incite some sort of violence, that will not be tolerated. Okay? All those media companies such as MSNBC, the CNNs, the ABCs, The View, and all these people that keep putting out false information to feed a narrative, there is consequences for that. Watch how the dynamic of the landscape, watch how the landscape of media changes after these get passed. Watch how much truth all these news companies start speaking. Watch how much propaganda is lessened when these mandates and policies get put to pass. It has to happen. We have no choice. They pushed us too far. It's time to take the country back.
We should also enact new laws laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution and deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote. And once you lose the
I have to bring that back. Is he going to take away people's votes? I don't really understand this part.
research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more. We should also enact new laws laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution and deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote.
Okay, so with the censorship and the federal bureaucracies that engage in election interference and all that stuff, you're kind of depriving the people of an informed vote, right? So if you're stopping people from voting in any sort of way, right? You blocking information, you only putting out the propaganda that serves you, the federal bureaucrat, right? There is severe penalties coming for that. You're stopping the people under the rightful Constitution of America. You are invading and violating certain amendments. He just said the First, the Fourth, and the Fifth. Big dog. It's over.
And once you lose those elections, and once you lose your borders like we have, you no longer have a country. Furthermore, to confront the problems of major platforms being infiltrated by legions of former deep staters and intelligence officials, there should be a 7-year cooling off period before any employee of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DNI, DHS, or DOD is allowed to take a job at a company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data. Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use. They should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely and receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose. The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America and for the survival of Western civilization itself. When I am president, this whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large. There won't be anything left. By restoring free speech, we'll begin to reclaim our democracy and save our nation. Thank you, and God bless America. If we don't have free...
Listen, the Don has spoken, man. The Don has spoken. Okay? Now, there's one thing I want to talk about, right? There is an effect that has... You know what? Nah, we ain't going to talk about that. Okay. The World Health Organization. This right here is about globalists and the deep state. Now, a lot of people don't know what the deep state is, but a lot of people at the same breath have been learning about the deep state. Deep state is the bureaucracies that are unelected that are persuading certain laws to be passed. They did the censorship thing. They want to completely take control of the government in the shadows. Okay, they want to run everything in the shadows. None of these people, or most of these people, have not been elected by the people. That's not a democracy. Some of these guys are employed under certain companies, the FBI, NSA, all that. Unrightfully so. The FDA, all that. Okay? There's no reason why the FDA, 60% of its budget that it uses is by companies, food companies have been given the FDA money. Yo, what ingredients are banned? Okay? And these companies are coming to the FDA and be like, yo, listen, we're going to give you such and such, right? And you're going to let this ingredient pass through these foods. Okay, don't worry about it. You're going to let it pass. You're going to say it's FDA approved, all right? We just want the stamp. We want the trust of the people. The trust of the people shouldn't be so easily bought. You're deceiving the people saying that this thing is FDA approved. But you got this ingredient in there that we ain't supposed to be eating. The globalists, aka the architects of the New World government, the New World Order that has been hyped up since I was born and before. These are the people that want to bring forth the one world government, the social credit score. I'm going to let Trump talk about it.
The United States, but owned and controlled by China. The World Health Organization has become nothing more than a corrupt globalist scam paid for by the United States, but owned and controlled by China. When the China virus reached our shores 3 years ago, the World Health Organization disgracefully covered the tracks of the Chinese Communist Party every single step of the way. For this reason, it was my great honor to terminate America's relationship with the World Health Organization. The United States was paying the World Health Organization almost $500 million a year. When I dropped out, I took it out of there. And for 330 million people, even though China was paying only $40 million for 1.4 billion people. So we had 330, they have 1.4, and we're paying more than 10 times the amount. That's typical for the United States because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Unfortunately, crooked Joe Biden foolishly re-entered the World Health Organization at the full price and without any negotiations or reforms. And now Biden is pushing to bypass the United States Senate to enter a pandemic treaty that would surrender American sovereignty to the World.
I need him to finish this. This right here has been rumored by Alex Jones, by Candace Owens, I think, and by the so-called conspiracy theorists that have been looked at as criminals. You can't surrender the sovereignty of our nation to a foreign power such as the World Health Organization. I'm calling them a foreign power. They are controlled by China.
American sovereignty to the World Health Organization, again controlled by China.
This pandemic treaty that he's talking about, if another pandemic happens, which we have dodged a bullet, if we would have elected Kamala Harris, which is a puppet, a deep state puppet, if Kamala Harris would have got into this office, within these next 4 years, this country would have never came back, because they would have installed another pandemic, and then the pandemic treaty would be going into effect. And within this pandemic treaty, our constitution is null and void. They'll have something called the World Health Organization Constitution. They'll have their own constitution that'll be in place. Within this treaty, it is rumored that they could send people to come to your house and quarantine you. They could send people to come to your house, pull you out, hit you with vaccines that they feel is needed for the current pandemic happening, and you will have no say about it. So while the people out there are still talking about, oh, it's racism, oh my God, they don't like black women, oh my God, they're misogynists, oh my God, it's still racism going on in this country. To all the celebrities and streamers out there that still put out this information, such as Duke Dennis, I don't think Duke Dennis will ever watch this, and if he does, he'll say he don't know who I am. Of course, that's what they all do. Duke Dennis sat up there on his platform and said there's still racism going on. He's a streamer. There's still racism going on, and he's gonna go and shoot for president. I got a message to the Duke Dennis. Shut up and stream. Shut up and stream. We don't give a fuck about your opinions, bro, on politics. LeBron James, shut up and dribble. We don't give a fuck about your politics and your political point of views. You are good at basketball. Duke Dennis, you are good at streaming and doing all the shit you be doing, going to Waffle House and picking up girls and all that shit. We don't want you to be no president. Respectfully and disrespectfully. To all the celebrities that went into hiding after Kamala Harris lost, respectfully and disrespectfully, we don't give a fuck about your politics. We don't care. The psyop that these people have put into your minds is that racism is bigger than what it actually is. Racism is kept alive mostly by black people because black people don't take accountability. Obviously, I'm black. Obviously, I'm woken up. And I could objectively tell you guys, racism still lives, but it's not as... Listen, anybody can get rich. You could go out your house and drink from any water fountain you want. everybody could go work for what they want, no matter race, color, or creed. You can do that. Kamala lost because she put on a very bad campaign. Kamala lost because she decided to listen to the terrible political, the campaign advisors she had, campaign staff. Yo, don't go to this platform because you're going to talk too much and fuck it up for us. She lost because she was incompetent and did not earn her position to even be president of the United States. You're not worthy of a promotion. You're not worthy of a promotion. Duke Dennis, you're not worthy to be president of the United States. You are a streamer. That's what we know you as.
The draft treaty would require the United States to send vast quantities of medical supplies to other countries in the event of another pandemic, and it would push aggressive censorship of free speech on issues of public health, just like they censored the truth about the Wuhan lab, which I said that's where it came from, remember. Under the next Trump administration, that treaty will be immediately terminated. I would not allow public health to be used as a pretext to advance the march of global government. That's what they're doing, globalists. The United States will withdraw from the corrupt World Health Organization, which, in light of its utter failure on COVID, they had a tremendous disaster on COVID, deserves to be completely abolished and replaced. Then I will work to forge a new coalition of nations that are strongly committed to protecting health while also upholding sovereignty and freedom. I want to thank you very much, but I also want to say this. I could have renegotiated the deal. I could have gone into the World Health Organization for $25 million. Biden didn't take that deal. He's paying almost $500 million. They were so anxious to get the United States back after I terminated the agreement. They were so anxious to get it back that they offered me a deal, $25 to $30 million. And I said, no, I'll wait. Could have gotten it for less, but I didn't want less at that point. We were paying almost $500 million. Could have done it for $25 to $30. Biden took the $500 million deal. He knew he could have gotten back in for less. So why did he pay so much? But that's just one of many things that are wrong with our country.
Now, within the Bloomberg interview that he had a couple weeks ago before Election Day, he discussed this with a Bloomberg representative or some speaker, and they was talking about tariffs, right? And one of his examples with tariffs, or just spending too much, not even tariffs, just spending too much money on certain things. He spoke about buying a new plane, Air Force One. And the markup for the Air Force One was 5 point something billion, 5.6, I think. And he said, this is way too much to pay for this plane. Let me stop talking to this person on the phone that wants me to pay 5.6 just because the last administration paid a stupid number. Let me get off this phone and wait it out. A week later, or however long ago it was, he got the same call from this person that wanted to sell this new Air Force One for 5.6. I think it's 5.6. He got it down to like 3.7, 3.8, just for the simple fact he was not taking it. So these people took off $1.6, $1.7 billion off the price tag because they knew that the United States would pay a egregious amount for something, because people aren't checking on why does this thing cost so much? It shouldn't cost so much. They just see the price tag. We got all this bread in America. Let's just buy it and not discuss and not negotiate. We have incompetent people that have been in power for too long. They have been in power for way too long. Okay? They gotta go. It's gotta happen. Oh,
is an act of
to the women out there, for this last mandate that I'm gonna post and talk about, maybe I'll discuss all the other ones. Why not? I said I was gonna make a very big video. We expect an apology from y'all for this one that's coming up right now.
the left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures.
To all the people that have voted for Kamala Harris, right? I know a lot of y'all are uninformed and quite frankly stupid. You guys were paying, you guys use your vote to vote in a lady that wanted to continue gender affirming care, which is happening in California right now, Minnesota right now, to chemically castrate children because one day they woke up and they feel like, oh, I'm not this gender, I'm the other gender. Let's splash some silence into that. That's child abuse. These children under the age of 17, 16, even 20 something, they don't know what the hell they are, who they are, what they are. That's just me saying 20 something, but whatever. Once you hit 18, you could do what you want. But a 7, 6, 5 year old that been watching or listening to their teachers talking about gender and how many genders there are, and there's 72 genders and pronouns, you're making this thing acceptable. And under God, you are a man or a woman. Under God in the Bible, there is only two genders. So, to all the people that have voted for Kamala Harris, you almost brought in the Antichrist, a follower of Baphomet, because Baphomet is a transgender demon. You almost brought in a depopulation agenda that would have virtually destroyed the birth rates in America for the foreseeable future, slowly but surely. Chemical castration. When these kids get chemically castrated through puberty blockers, say if they're a man or a boy, right? They're a boy. They decide they're a girl. They take these puberty things, and years later they see a woman, right? They talk to this woman. They like, damn, I like this woman. I think I'm in love with her. I want to pleasure her. I want to do this and that for her and all that. They can't get off these drugs and return to normal. Return to normal. They won't be able to get a proper orgasm. They won't be able to become erect. They won't be able to have children. They won't be able to make love to this person that they fell in love with. And that will incite a deep depression. Through a deep depression, through mental illness coming into effect from being chemically castrated and not be able to live a normal life, that leads to a boundless number of effects and aftermath, such as suicide, such as shooting up a school, such as being a mental patient, walking around in society probably blaming the government or your teacher or whoever that told you you aren't what God said you was. Does that not sound insane to you? You voted that in. A lot of y'all ain't know what was going on. We expect an apology. We want an apology immediately. And if we don't get an apology, that's fine. We'll accept that we got up and we took responsibility and went to that voting booth and prevented a dark future that would have eradicated America, that would have made us laughing stocks all over the world, because in every other or most other countries, gender affirming care and such child abuse initiatives would never be allowed. Okay, that's depopulism. That's satanic. That's not common sense. And the domino effect of that is grown men aren't walking into women's bathrooms. That's the domino effect of that, because there will be no such thing as that crazy ideology. Because you identify as something, now you can just walk into the other bathroom. You are what God identified you as. You understand me?
And pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable.
They say money is the root of all evil. They say that. And people don't bat an eye. Big Pharma, the federal bureaucracies within the government and the shadow government, the FDA, all these powerful corporations, that's all deep state. Okay, that's all deep state. Big Pharma, all Big Pharma cares about is their pockets, their bottom line. They've gotten so drunk off the money, they don't care what happens, okay? There are kids right now taking Ozempic. There are kids right now taking Ozempic. Yo, the doctors are instructed, instead of a good diet, exercise, water, less candy, living a healthier life, we're going to give them this drug that's going to fill our pockets up. So we're going to recommend Ozempic to these children that they're probably going to have to take for a lifetime. Do you understand why the American people are pissed off? You should. And hopefully you're a viewer that understands why we went out in droves to vote this man in. A lot of black people, unfortunately, because if you look at the number of how many black men and black women still went to this satanic party such as the Democrats, it's in egregious high numbers. 73% black men. In the high 80s, early 90s, black women still went to this party of destruction and insanity. They still went out in droves to vote these people in because they don't know no better. Their grandmother did it. Their grandmother been telling them to vote blue their whole life. They fell for the banana in the tailpipe when they talked about women's reproductive rights. They fell for the banana in the tailpipe and used their vote to vote in these demons back in the office. Thank God for most Americans. Thank God for Elon Musk buying Twitter, that we can see the right information that isn't skewed by the left on the MSNBCs, the ABCs, and all those bullshit networks that pander, that censor their own speech when they're about to start speaking the truth. Oh no, please don't say that. No, we didn't mean to say that. Gender is. We have to eradicate the mainstream media from the bottom up. Oh, you guys want to censor us? Oh, you guys are putting out propaganda and misinformation, bullshit information. Y'all not telling the truth. Y'all demonized this man for years because he wanted to shoot for the highest office in the land. He got it. Instead of being loved, which he was for most of his life, being a New York real estate giant, he became a Nazi. He became the Antichrist. He became a fascist. He became a bigot. When all he was a patriot. All he is a patriot. I watched a few podcasts, maybe an Anton Daniels podcast, not a podcast, but a video. And, he was like, we don't deserve, even if we win this presidency for Donald Trump, we don't deserve another presidency because we were so ungrateful to what was going on. But in the same breath, 2020 through 2024, the presidency of Biden and Kamala Harris had to happen because we had to be awakened through the darkness that was coming.
I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Let me find. Listen. This next one is about birthright citizenship. Let me tell you something about me, right? This is something very personal to me, right? You gotta blame the Biden-Harris administration for bringing in so many illegals to try to steal an election. I want y'all to hear this, and then I'm gonna give my thoughts on it.
As part of my plan to secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. It's things like this that bring millions of people to our country. Not receive automatic. Future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. Going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. It's things like this that bring millions of people to our country, and they enter our country illegally. As
Listen, the loophole that was administered for generations. Even my parents did it, right? But they came in legally. They came in legally. Through legal entry, they came in. Okay? They had to get their papers, worked hard to get their papers, worked hard to become U.S. citizens, worked hard to have a vote in an election. When I was born, I was endowed with a U.S. citizenship on birth. Okay, I was born and raised in this country. The reason why most people from other countries come here is to get U.S. citizenship. If they can't get it themselves, their children get it, and their children will reap the benefits of being a U.S. citizen. Unfortunately, because of the Biden Harris administration, these privileges must go. Don't blame Donald Trump for that. You must blame the people that tried to steal an election, that disregarded U.S. veterans. They're homeless. They have fought for our country. Some lost their lives. Some are injured, and they're not reaping the benefits of fighting for our country. A lot of them are homeless. There is 33,000 veterans that are homeless right now. I think that's the number. So you got to ask yourself, right? Objectively, I know I reap the benefits of becoming a U.S. citizen, being born here. You guys that came in, unfortunately, y'all can't get those benefits. The time of that grace period is going to be sealed. It's over. Your parents have to be U.S. citizens. They have to come in legally. They have to take the tests. They have to go through the auditing process, the background checks, all that. They have to add to our society in order to become U.S. citizens now. I don't think I have the video saved on my X, but marriage citizenship is also coming to an end. So the U.S. citizenship in its entirety, the value of the U.S. citizenship will be, the valuation of the U.S. citizenship will go up tenfold. Tenfold. Oh, you're a U.S. citizen? That's crazy. The prestige of it from other countries is going to be like, wow, he's a U.S. citizen. It's so hard to be a U.S. citizen. You know why? It should be hard to be a U.S. citizen, especially at this level. You're a part of the greatest country in the world, and it will be that again in the future, the very near future. Our veterans will no longer be homeless. Our food supply will no longer be poisoned by big pharma, so we could go to the doctor and get medicines that are made by them so they could forever be rich with thousands of side effects attached to it. We'll no longer be obese in high percentages no more. Patriotism will flood the streets like a great tsunami. Aren't you proud to be a U.S. citizen? Let me see what else we got, man. The last thing, well, two more things. Trump is planning a 250th birthday for America, okay? This is gonna be a rebirth of patriotism like no other.
3 years from now, the United States will celebrate the biggest and most important milestone in our country's history. 250 years of American independence. What a great country. And we have to keep it that way. But that's why, as a nation, we should be preparing for a most spectacular birthday party. We want to make it the best of all time. Here is my plan to give America's founding in 1776 the incredible anniversary it truly deserves. On day one, I will convene a White House task force called Salute to America 250. It will be responsible for coordinating with state and local governments to ensure not just one day of celebration, but an entire year of festivities across the nation, starting on Memorial Day 2025 and continuing through July 4th, 2026. Second, I will work with all 50 governors, Republican and Democrat alike, to create the Great American State Fair, a unique one-year exhibition featuring pavilions from all 50 states. It'll be something. The Great American State Fair will showcase the glory of every state in the Union, promote pride in our history, and put forth innovative visions for America's future. My hope is that the amazing people of Iowa will work with my administration to open up the legendary Iowa State Fairgrounds to host the Great American State Fair and welcome millions and millions of visitors from around the world to the heartland of America for this special one-time festival. Together we will build it and they will come. Third, alongside the Great American State Fair, we will host major sporting contests for high school athletes. These are great athletes, wonderful athletes from fantastic high schools all around the country. These Patriot Games will allow young Americans from every state to show off the best of American skills, sportsmanship, and competitive spirit. Fourth, I will sign an executive order to bring back our National Garden of American Heroes, which we want to build very badly. Commission artists for the first 100 statues to populate this new statuary park honoring the greatest Americans of all time. Fifth, as president, I will invite the leaders and citizens of nations around the world to visit the United States in honor of our 250th anniversary. It's going to be great. America's tourist industry should get ready because we're going to have a lot of people coming. It will be a record year. And finally, and most importantly, I will ask America's great religious communities to pray for our nation and our people as we prepare for this momentous occasion. From the very beginning, America has been a country sustained and strengthened by prayer and by our communities of faith. As we chart a course toward the next 250 years, let us come together and rededicate ourselves as one nation under God. Thank you.
This is Trump's plan, okay? And simple steps. Seal the border. Get rid of the illegal immigration that have been raising property tax, raising our health care, bringing in human traffickers. Children are lost, bringing in drugs. These illegal immigrants are not being properly indoctrinated into our way of living, so they're still living how they've been living in whatever country they've came from. There are thousands of murderers, drug dealers, and rapists that are alongside people that just want asylum, that want to find a better life. But you came through illegally, so you are now a criminal because you came through illegally, which is now a crime. Okay? You increase the value of the U.S. citizenship by taking away loopholes from shortcuts that created U.S. citizens through birth citizenship. That has to go. I'm sorry. A lot of us have reaped the benefits of that, but because of the Biden-Harris administration, those privileges must now go. It's over now. That raises the U.S. citizenship status tenfold across the nation, across the planet. The Department of Education has to be abolished, because ever since the Department of Education, which I have not saved one of the videos, I would have loved to talk about it. The Department of oh, actually, I do have a video. We're gonna do that still. The Department of Education, ever since it's been birthed, our nation went from being one of the top to being 24th, if not way less under that, in the world in education. Some of us can't read. A lot of us can't read. A lot of us can't read at a 5th grade, 6th grade level. It gotta go. Drug dealers, cartel, the drugs that have been coming in, fentanyl, they gotta go. You are a terrorist organization that have been killing a lot of us. So just like ISIS, you gotta be exterminated at the heart. War has to be waged on the cartel. The food industry has to be healthy. All the products that have been put on the shelves, all the ingredients that have been put in the food, they have to be changed to healthier ingredients. Shout out to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Our country will be healthy again. Autism rates will go down. Our kids won't be 5, 6, 7 years old getting Ozempic shots. Finally, censorship. Censorship has plagued this country since the pandemic. Free speech has now been reawakened through the process of, well, through the powers of Elon Musk buying Twitter and awakening the country in mass. And then that beautiful virus has spread to TikTok, thus awakening the people to what's actually going on, and the propaganda that has been plaguing the country in our minds, the propaganda that has been pressed on by the MSM, the mainstream media, has destroyed a lot of people's minds. Okay, that has to go. That has to stop. It's over now. All right? Free speech. Without free speech, this country is nothing. That's what we're built off of. That's why it's the First Amendment. The First and the Fifth beautiful amendments. Right? So, in order for this country to have a rebirth, all those things that I discussed, that Trump discussed, that I commented on, must happen immediately. It must happen fast. Whether you like it or not, it's got to get done. And then finally, you build a state fair, a national fair that brings in people from all over the world. This country's great. Let's celebrate it. All the other countries, that people that want to come from other countries, they can come for this one-time event and enjoy what it's like to be an American. All the heroes that we have birthed, the sporting events, everything. You will know how great this country is. You will see American flags everywhere. Huh? But this video went long enough, man. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate y'all for checking me out. This is Think Pieces and Conversations. And we're going to go to the moon with this. Let's take our country back. I'm out of here.